Sometimes people think they're being mature when they're actually just being selfish. I thought asking for permission made everything different. Anyway, make sure to hit that like button if you enjoy my videos, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. So there I was, 29 years old, with my whole life planned out perfectly. Wedding venue booked for next month, invitations, already sent deposits paid. Everything was falling into place exactly how I wanted it. Jared and I had been together for 4 years, living together for the last 2, and he proposed 8 months earlier with this ring that was fine. Not exactly what I'd pictured, but whatever. Here's the thing though, Jared was one of those guys who had everything scheduled and organized. He'd wake up at the same time every day, follow the same routines, plan every detail of our weekends like we were running some kind of military operation. Don't get me wrong, some women probably find that stability attractive, but I felt like I was suffocating. Like, can we just be spontaneous for once? Can we do something that isn't penciled into his little planner? And then there was the whole experience thing that had been eating at me for months. I'd only been with 3 guys total, including Jared, while he'd had like 7 or 8 partners before me. Every time I thought about walking down that aisle, this voice in my head kept asking, what if I'm missing something? What if there's this whole world of passion and excitement that I'll never get to experience because I'm tying myself down at 29? That's when Clay came into the picture. I've been going to this gym for about 6 months, and Clay was, well, let's just say he was everything Jared wasn't. Spontaneous, confident, the kind of guy who could make you feel like the only woman in the room just by looking at you. We talked during my workouts, nothing inappropriate, just friendly conversation. But I could feel this electricity between us, this chemistry that I'd never experienced with Jared. The more I thought about it, the more I convinced myself that I needed to get this out of my system before the wedding. I mean, wasn't it better to be honest about these feelings instead of just pushing them down and pretending they didn't exist? Wasn't it more mature to address this head on rather than wondering what if for the rest of my marriage? So last Friday night, we're having dinner at home. Just pasta and wine, nothing special because Jared never did anything special without planning it weeks in advance. I decided it was time to have an adult conversation about this. I need to talk to you about something. I said, setting down my wine glass. Jared looked up from his plate with that cautious expression he always got when I used that tone. What's up? I've been thinking about the wedding, about marriage, about forever. I could see his whole body tense up, probably thinking I was getting cold feet. No, I want to marry you. I love you. It's just, I've only been with 3 people, including you. And you've been with, 7 or 8? He shrugged. I don't see what that has to do with anything. Of course he didn't. Jared never saw the big picture when it came to emotional stuff. Look, I think I need a hall pass before the wedding. Just one night, one person. Then I'll never wonder what I'm missing, and I can fully commit to you. The way he just stared at me, you'd think I'd suggested we rob a bank or something. You want to sleep with someone else a month before our wedding? I need this. For us, for our marriage. Think about it. Wouldn't you rather I get this curiosity out of my system now with your permission instead of wondering about it for the next 50 years? Who is it? See, I knew he'd ask that. Men always think you can't want something without having someone specific in mind. There's this guy at my gym. We've talked. He's interested, but I've never done anything. I would never cheat on you. Right. You just want to sleep with him with permission. It's different. It's transparent. I'm being completely open with you about this. I watched Jared's face trying to read his expression. He was always so controlled, so measured in his responses. Sometimes I wondered if he even had real emotions or if everything was just calculated in that analytical brain of his. Finally, he said, okay. I almost choked on my wine. Okay, what? You can have your hall pass. I couldn't believe it. After all my mental preparation for an argument for him to call me crazy or selfish, he was actually being understanding. Really? You're serious? When were you thinking? Tonight. Clay's available tonight if that's okay. Sure, go ahead. I actually squealed. I felt like a teenager who just gotten permission to go to the coolest party of the year. I jumped up and hugged him, kissing his cheek. Thank you so much for understanding. This is exactly why I love you. I rushed to our bedroom and pulled out this dress I'd bought months ago but never had the right occasion to wear, something that actually showed off my figure instead of the conservative outfits Jared preferred. I did my hair, put on makeup, the works. When I came back out, Jared was still sitting at the table staring at his half-finished pasta. I'll be back tomorrow morning and we can talk about everything then, I said, grabbing my purse. Thank you for being so mature about this. I kissed him goodbye just a quick peck because I was so excited to get going, and headed out to meet Clay. The night was everything I'd imagined it would be. Clay picked me up in his truck and we went to this little bar I'd never been to before. He was funny, charming, made me feel beautiful and desired in ways I'd forgotten were possible. When we got back to his place, the chemistry was incredible. He was passionate, attentive, spontaneous, everything that had been missing from my relationship with Jared. I spent the entire night there not wanting the experience to end. For the first time in years, I felt alive, desired, like I was living instead of just existing in some predetermined schedule. Clay made me feel like a woman instead of just Jared's reliable fiancé who fit neatly into his organized life plan. When morning came, I was practically glowing. I felt like I'd gotten something important out of my system, like I could now go into my marriage without any regrets or wondering. I was actually grateful to Jared for being mature enough to understand what I needed. I got dressed and had Clay drop me off at home around 8:47 a.m. I was exhausted but satisfied, ready to shower and maybe take a nap before having that conversation with Jared about how this experience had actually strengthened my commitment to our relationship. But when I tried to put my key in the lock, it wouldn't turn. I tried again, jiggling it, thinking maybe the lock was just being finicky. Nothing. I started pounding on the door. Jared, my key isn't working. I heard footsteps, then the door opened, but only a crack because of the chain lock. Oh, good, you're awake, I said, pushing my hair back. It was probably a mess. My key did something weird. Can you let me in? I'm exhausted. No. I blinked. What? I said no, you're not coming in. What are you talking about? Let me in. I need to shower and sleep. You don't live here anymore. I laughed because it had to be a joke. Jared didn't make jokes, but what else could this be? Very funny. I'm tired. This isn't amusing. Not a joke. You wanted a hall pass. I gave you one-way ticket out of this relationship. You used it. We're done. The smile fell off my face as I stared at him through that stupid chain. What? No, we talked about this. You said okay. You were supportive. I was helping you leave. Seemed easier than arguing about it. You can't do this. We're engaged. We're engaged. Past tense. Your stuff's in boxes by the door. He tried to close the door, but I pushed against it. I'm calling the cops. You can't lock me out of my own home. It's my apartment. Lease is in my name only. Call the cops if you want. They'll tell you the same thing. This is insane. You're being completely unreasonable. I just needed one night, and you said it was okay, and you got it. Hope it was worth it? It didn't even mean anything. It was just physical. Cool. Glad you got it out of your system. Now you can do it as a single woman. He opened the door wider and showed me 3 boxes stacked by the entrance, my clothes, my laptop, important papers. Like he'd been planning this the entire time I was gone. Take your stuff. I have things to do today. I started crying, then the reality of what was happening finally hitting me. Please don't do this. I love you. I want to marry you. Last night was a mistake. Last night was a choice. You chose him over me, over us, over our wedding. That's fine. People make choices, but choices have consequences. I choose you. I'm here now. I came back. Yeah, after sleeping with your gym buddy. Forgive me if I'm not impressed by your dedication. Just then, Gabrielle's car pulled up. She was supposed to pick me up for brunch, but I texted her to come get me here instead since I figured Jared and I would need time to talk through everything. What's going on? She asked, getting out of her car and looking between me and Jared. He's kicking me out, I said, tears streaming down my face. He won't let me in. Gabrielle looked at Jared with disgust. Seriously? Over one night? Over her sleeping with someone else a month before our wedding, Jared replied calmly. Yes, seriously. But she asked permission. You can't punish her for being transparent. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm ending a relationship with someone who thinks getting it out of her system by sleeping with random guys is normal pre-wedding behavior. You're being rigid and judgmental, Gabrielle shot back. I'm being someone with self-respect. Take her and her stuff. She can stay with you. Gabrielle helped me load the boxes into her car while I kept pleading with Jared, trying to make him see reason. We can go to counseling. We can work through this. Nothing to work through. You wanted to sleep with someone else. You did. Now you're single. Everything's working as intended. What about the wedding, the deposits, our families? I'm canceling the wedding and losing the deposits. You can explain to your family why we're not getting married. I'll handle mine. You're really doing this over one mistake. One massive relationship ending mistake, yes. As Gabrielle drove me away, I kept looking back at the apartment, waiting for Jared to come running after me to realize he was being completely irrational. But he just went back inside and closed the door like nothing had happened. He's lost his mind, I told Gabrielle through my tears. I was completely honest with him. I asked permission. How is that cheating? It's not, she assured me. He's being a controlling asshole. You dodged a bullet. But even as she said it, something felt wrong. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Jared was supposed to understand that this made me a better partner and not kick me out like I was some kind of stranger. The next few days were a blur of phone calls and drama. Jared's mom called first, and I thought maybe she talked some sense into him. How could you do this to my son? She said instead. He's devastated. I didn't do anything to him. I was transparent about my needs. I asked permission. You asked permission to cheat on him a month before your wedding. What did you think would happen? I thought he'd understand that this would make our marriage stronger. She hung up on me. Then my own mother called after Jared apparently explained the situation to his parents, who told mine. My daughter is devastated, she told him, according to what he later told the judge. You humiliated her. But when she called me, she was furious. What were you thinking, Avery? How could you throw away a good man like that? I was being mature about my feelings instead of just ignoring them. You were being selfish, and now you're paying for it. Even my own family was taking his side. It was like everyone had lost their minds. The wedding venue sent cancellation papers for $200 in lost deposits, half the total cost. I couldn't believe Jared expected me to pay for something that was his decision. So I decided to take him to court. Small claims court was 3 weeks later. I showed up with my mother for moral support, ready to explain to a judge how unreasonable Jared was being. He showed up alone, looking calm and collected as always. Your Honor, I began when the judge called our case. My fiancé ended our engagement without cause and stuck me with half the wedding cancellation fees. I'm seeking reimbursement plus compensation for the emotional harm he caused. The judge looked at Jared. Response: Your Honor, she requested permission to sleep with another man a month before our wedding. I granted permission and ended the relationship. The cancellation fees are a shared cost of the engagement we both entered into. I've paid my half. The judge's eyebrows went up. No. I'm sorry when she asked for a hall pass to sleep with someone else before the wedding. I felt my face get hot. It's more complicated than that. Yes or no? Did you ask to sleep with someone else before the wedding? Yes, but he said it was okay. And then he ended the engagement the next day without discussing it. He just kicked me out. The judge looked back at Jared. Did she live with you? In my apartment? Yes. Lease is solely in my name. She moved in with me. Then back to me. You asked to sleep with someone else. He ended the relationship, and you're upset he didn't want to marry you after that. He didn't give me a chance to explain. What's to explain you wanted to sleep with someone else? Most people would consider that grounds for ending an engagement. Request for damages denied, the judge declared. Each party pays their own cancellation costs. Case dismissed. I couldn't believe it. Even the legal system was taking his side. Outside the courthouse, my mother tried one more guilt trip. You've ruined her life. She can't show her face anywhere. Everyone knows what happened. Jared shrugged. Everyone knows because she told people. I've been pretty quiet about it. She's having to start over at 29. Do you know how hard dating is now? Probably easier than dating at 31 after getting cheated on a month before my wedding. She'll manage. 2 months later, I was still staying with Gabrielle, still trying to piece my life back together. I'd started therapy partly because everyone kept suggesting it, partly because I needed someone to validate that I wasn't crazy for wanting to explore my options before marriage. But even my therapist seemed to think I'd made a mistake. What were you hoping to accomplish with this hall pass? She asked during one session. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing out on anything. I wanted to be able to commit fully to Jared without any regrets. And how did that work out? I hated that question because the truth was Clay had moved on almost immediately. A week after our night together, he'd asked me if I wanted to keep seeing him casually, maybe explore an open relationship. When I said no, that I was trying to work things out with Jared, he basically shrugged and said, okay, cool, like it meant nothing to him. Then I found out through mutual gym friends that he was already seeing someone else, someone younger, someone who didn't have all my baggage and complications. The whole thing that I thought was this amazing, life-changing experience apparently meant absolutely nothing to him. Meanwhile, Jared was thriving. I heard through Carter, his best man who was friends with Gabrielle's boyfriend, that he'd gotten some kind of advancement at work. He'd redecorated the apartment, seemed happier, was going out with friends more. Like losing me had been this weight lifted off his shoulders instead of this devastating loss. That hurt more than I wanted to admit. I'd expected him to be miserable to realize what he lost and come crawling back. Instead, he seemed to be doing better than ever. I tried reaching out to him once about a month and a half after everything went down. I got a new phone number and texted him, I'm sorry, really sorry. I was scared of commitment and self-sabotaged. I'm in therapy now. I know I ruined everything. Just wanted you to know I understand why you did what you did. He never responded. Gabrielle told me she'd heard through the grapevine that Clay was now dating that younger girl seriously and that she'd apparently told him she wasn't interested in anything casual. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd thrown away a committed relationship for a guy who was now in a committed relationship with someone else. You know what the worst part is? I told Gabrielle one night as we sat in her living room splitting a bottle of wine. I actually thought I was being mature. I thought asking permission made it okay, made it different from just cheating. You were being honest about your needs, she said, but even she didn't sound as convinced as she had in the beginning. Was I, though, or was I just being selfish and trying to dress it up as something noble? The question hung in the air between us, and I realized that maybe everyone else hadn't been crazy after all. Maybe I'd been the one who was completely out of line. But by then it was too late. Jared had moved on. Clay had moved on, and I was sitting in my friend's living room at 29, starting over from scratch because I'd convinced myself that one night with a stranger was worth more than 4 years with someone who loved me. The wedding would have been last weekend. Instead of celebrating with family and friends, I spent it alone in Gabrielle's spare room, scrolling through social media and seeing all the happy couples posting about their own relationships. I kept thinking about that Friday night dinner, about the choice I'd made, about how different everything would be if I just kept my mouth shut and married the man who'd been planning to spend his life with me. But I also kept thinking about Clay, about that night, about whether it had really been worth losing everything. And the answer, as much as I hated to admit it, was no, it hadn't been worth it at all.